morning, dear viewers. Today in Political Correctly episode, we will be into the rights and obligations of Ecuadorian students, with kind guests willing to solve some of our doubts and situations related to students.
Our two guests this Saturday morning are the economist Valeria Vidal and the sociologist Ruth Vélez.
What is the right of education? It is a fundamental right of all human beings that allows them to acquire knowledge and thus achieve a full social life. The right of education is vital for the economic, social, and cultural development of all societies. However, it remains inaccessible to thousands of children around the world.
Our work will begin with interviews with students and their knowledge about their rights and obligations in their area of study.
Good morning, we are here with Alejandro Avila, a student from Borja School. Did you know that as a student of an educative center you have rights and obligations?
Yes, as a student here, I know that I have some obligations that I have to fulfill, as well as I have the rights to have some things and earn some other things that should be needed.
What rights and obligations do you think that a student should have?
I think that the obligations that a student should have is to study, do his homework, have good grades, being good in general. For rights, I think that we must have right to have the information that we need, to have good teachers, to have good resources.
And for the last question, did you bail it to make comply your rights?
As a student, no, since I think that I have all the rights that I need here in my institution.
Okay, thank you.
Now, in our next interview, we have Pedro Mijos, another student of Borja College. Rafael, we have Pedro on camera? Yeah. Well, Pedro, the first question. Do you know as a student in an educational center, you have rights and obligations?
Yes, I know, because rights and obligations are present in everything in our life, especially in our we can say early life, in our infancy or childhood, because here we are learning a lot, and especially about laws and especially rights and obligations.
Okay, what rights and obligations do you think a student have?
The rights of a student is obviously the education, but I really don't know what rights have also the students. But something that they also have is the human rights that everyone has. And in the obligations, I think just respect to the other people and do the homeworks.
And the last question, Pedro. Have you enforced your rights?
Yes, when it is necessary, I try to accomplish my rights.
Well, thank you, Pedro.
The opinion of students about their rights and obligations was very important, considering the importance that those who experience it firsthand have with respect to their rights and obligations. Now is the turn of the big boys, I mean girls, to contrast and make young people aware of their rights and obligations that go unnoticed and ignored, existing to complete their learning function and create a pleasant study environment.
I'm here with Valeria Vidal, who is part of the Borja community. Let's start. Do you know the rights and obligations of students, or what do you think they are?
Yes, I know what are the rights of the students. One of them, the child has the right of education, has the right of food, has the right of a home. I think that these three are the most important, and also a kid has the right of, I think that to be loved.
Okay. How does the government enforce the rights and obligations of education to all young people within the country?
Well, the government has to make more schools and university to to make strong the education in Ecuador, and also they have to watch for the children to be to go to go to the school. The schools that already the government has, they have to be improved for the kids.
Okay. During your time of study, did you fulfill or ensure the fulfillment of the rights and obligations?
I think so. Well, I was in a private school, so I think that I had my education, and that was very good, and that made me a better person with education and knowledge.
Okay. What are the possible consequences of failure to comply with a student's obligations?
Well, if the government doesn't help to the kids to go to school and give them a good education, I think the most trouble will be the future, because we will have citizens that has no education at all.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For the next and last interview, we have Ruth Vélez, an expert of the human rights. Well, Ruth, let's start. Do you know the rights and obligations of students, or what do you think they are?
Sí, hace un par de años sí revisé justamente los derechos de los estudiantes y como la Constitución mismo lo consagra, tienen derecho a una educación gratuita y laica, tienen derecho a recibir atención tanto psicológica como pedagógica, y así también como cuidados en la salud. Esa es la razón por la que muchas veces el Ministerio de Educación tiene relación con el Ministerio de Salud Pública en el sector público. Sí, tienen derecho a que se les garantice la educación a pesar de las diferentes circunstancias. Por ejemplo, en caso de embarazo, maternidad o paternidad, se tiene que garantizar su participación en el proceso educativo. Y obviamente ser tratado con justicia y con dignidad y sin ninguna discriminación. Bueno, dentro de las obligaciones es justamente tratar con respeto a todas las personas dentro de la institución, tanto a sus compañeros como al cuerpo docente y directivos. Tienen que cumplir con las actividades dentro de la institución educativa, con responsabilidad, buscando la excelencia académica. Tienen que respetar las instalaciones de la institución en la que estudian, respetar tanto la infraestructura como los insumos y los equipos que se encuentran dentro de la institución. Eso.
Well, now the second question is, how does the government enforce the rights and obligations of education to all young people within the country?
Bueno, justamente desde el Ministerio de Inclusión Económica y Social se busca identificar todas las personas que posiblemente pueden verse en una vulneración de derechos y un acceso limitado a la educación. Justamente se encarga de poder hacer esta conexión de estas personas con el sistema educativo. De igual forma, el Ministerio de Educación tiene la responsabilidad y la obligación de identificar a todos los niños, niñas, adolescentes que están en edad estudiantil. De igual forma, a los adultos que tal vez no hayan tenido acceso a la educación e integrarlos al sistema.
The third question. During your time of study, did you fulfill or ensure your rights and obligations?
Vinculada al sistema educativo, tienen la obligación de direccionarla con el Ministerio de Educación. Ese es el proceso normativo, pero de ahí también hay un tema de limitación de recursos que a veces imposibilita que se lleve esto plenamente. Pero en política como tal o direccionamientos y todo está establecido así.
And the last question, what are the possible consequences of failure to complete with the student obligations?
A ver, Eso varía un poco dentro de en qué etapa te encuentras del sistema escolar. Cuando estás en educación general básica, el hecho tal vez de no dedicarte con excelencia a cumplir tus actividades académicas, que incumplas, por ejemplo, con este tipo de obligaciones, no generan una consecuencia muy fuerte. Cuando estás en bachillerato, cuando ya eres una persona adulta, por ejemplo, hay gente que está estudiando justamente educación general básica y bachillerato cuando ya son mayores de 18 años, tal vez las consecuencias son más evidentes porque ahí sí puedes perder el año. Entonces, o sea, las consecuencias son un tanto ambiguas y también depende mucho de la escuela en que te encuentras.
Well, Ruth, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all. That give us all a lot of things to reflect.
Well, after knowing the opinion and thoughts of some students and professionals of the area, the appropriate conclusion might be that the students in the schools should know their rights and obligations in order to live by those rules, to be able to avoid an injustice to their rights and to meet the requirements of being a good student and pupil. Thus, in addition to create an atmosphere of order and respect, an atmosphere of culture and knowledge would be fostered, supporting and motivating each other. So, that was all for today. See you in the next Saturday with a report of the colonization of Brazil.